Thank you for joining Sports Development Series. We yours truly, Boma Ekior.
Sportdev series. Welcome to another session. Today, we're going to be analyzing the EPL and essentially the worship of the EPL around the world. When you look at it, according to EY Financial Times, the EPL accounts for 3.2 billion viewership people that watch the EPL on a yearly basis, according to a study conducted, I think it was 2019 to 2020, which is interesting because when you think about it, what are we, 6-7 billion people around the world, but then we have 3.2 billion of those people actually tuning in to watch a product from the British Isles. Essentially, these British people have created a product that they broadcast around the world. 3.2 billion people, more viewership than the NFL. I think it may be the most viewed league in the world, accounting for 7.6 billion pounds that's being generated for the UK economy. And the question you have to ask is, okay, if these guys are creating this league and all these people are watching this league, what does that mean for all the countries that have their home leagues and their home players and their home teams? You know, how much does that impact those leagues? How do they try to survive? Because you build a followership, people become familiar with your league, players, coaches, it becomes a huge following. The whole betting thing starts, which generates another economy in those home countries. And then the local leagues in those countries pretty much become obsolete. So we'll be talking about that today, trying to explore what that means. Can the home leagues ever recover from, the impact of the EPL? It's become a monster. Will they ever recover? What can home leagues do to try to maintain the survival of their leagues when compared to this monster called the EPL? So we'll kind of go from there and talk through. I got my main man Dayo Aquino in the house. D, what's up, man?
Hey, bro, how you doing now? Pleasure to join you guys today, man. How now?
Hey, thanks for coming on, man. I'm doing
Nah,
good. I'm doing good. We just started this live thing. We used to always just record with a couple of guests, but I started doing this. I think this is the third one we've done, and just trying to create more of a live atmosphere for discussing some of these topics and going from there. But thanks for joining.
yes. Pleasure to be on, man. Loving it, man. I like the discourse. I almost fought with you in my head last time when I heard it happen without my knowledge.
It's all good, man. Nah, thanks. Thanks for coming on. Look, so what do you think, man? So we're talking about the EPL. We all have our teams. I know you're an Arsenal fan. I'm obviously a Chelsea fan. And I think you start to think about the EPL, 3.2 billion people around the world, according to 2019, 2020 EY financial research. And all these people, what are we, 6-7 billion around the world, 3.2, half of the people around the world watch the English Premier League, and it generates 7.6 billion for the British economy. So essentially, we're all tuning in and boosting the British economy at the expense, like for instance, like Nigeria, we're both Nigerian. So at the expense
All right.
of our home leagues. Like for instance, in Nigeria, the home leagues are pretty much dead. If you talk to people there, they don't even know. Some people can't even tell you how many teams or which teams exist in the home league. So, will this ever stop? Will some local leagues in countries that are not in Western Europe wake up and decide to say, okay, listen, we need to boost our own league and try to create followership of our own? I don't know. I don't have an answer to that question, but what do you think?
I mean, I think I don't have any problem with the EPL per se because they're setting the standard for everybody. Even if you compare EPL to French league and some of these other lesser known European leagues,
Yeah.
When you watch a Sunday or Saturday game or a weekday game, you can clearly see the difference. You can see the atmosphere is different. The sound quality, even from a game, is different.
Yeah.
The product is fully refined. You don't have violence. Well, we have violence and racism everywhere, but we don't have direct violence per se in the stands. You're
Yeah.
not seeing, chain link fence covering, separating the fields from the stands. You know, so it's a fully refined product, and everybody loves that. So I think it's really a standard model for everybody to follow and try and emulate.
No,
You know,
absolutely. Yeah, and the thing is, you're right though. The product is quality, but the product has developed over years, right? Like when did the EPL
Mhm.
start? I can't remember because it wasn't the EPL at first, right? It was just a regular British league, and then they created the English Premiership, and
All
then
right,
then they started to develop the English Premiership from that point and making it better, and they started trying to get the best players around the world and everything else. But the thing is, product top class. I'm looking forward to watching the games tomorrow, right? But
all
the
right,
question is, you know, all these other leagues around the world, and if you look at like Nigeria, for instance, what can these guys do, or can they do anything, to build the followership? Because the EPL, let's be honest, it wasn't the EPL. They built this. You
all
know,
right,
they built this from next to nothing, and they kept building and growing and building and growing. And the broadcast revenues, the money they were getting from the very first time they started to today, has grown in leaps and bounds. And yeah, I understand they're in Europe, and that's where the best football is played around the world, and all these different things. And their teams compete in Champions League, but still, right?
you know, when I try and compare, at least because even us trying to sit down and compare, Nigerian, because we can go on for so many reasons why the Nigerian league is not what it at least should be in Africa or compared to Europe. If we start with UK and EPL as a model, and we compare it to other leagues, right? Why they're doing better. For instance, the competition. On any given day, Arsenal can play my team. Arsenal can play any other team in the league and lose.
Yeah.
Right? The competition is a lot higher.
Hmm.
Right? On any given year, obviously, Man City has done it well in the last 5-10 years, but any team can win the league. Leicester did, right?
No,
So
100%.
from that
Yeah.
standpoint, the competition is huge. The revenue sharing, I think, is a lot better. I don't know the exact specifics, but I believe the revenue sharing is better than say a La Liga, TV rights revenue sharing,
Yeah, and the thing
right?
is, yeah, no, you're right, and it's better than La Liga, it's better than Bundesliga, it's better than Italian league, and some of these leagues, to be honest with you, some of them had more recognition at one point. There was a time where the Italian league was
Right,
super, you
right,
know, compared to the English league, like the times when AC Milan and all those teams were big. Even the Spanish league, I mean, Real Madrid is still big, and so is Barca, but they have a different system. They don't operate like the EPL, where there's this huge revenue share, where like Real Madrid, for instance, they could go to Asia and go sell jerseys on their own,
all right.
and they'll keep all their money, right? So for I mean, the Brits have done a good job in creating this product, but the thing is, even you look at countries that have a lot of money and pouring money into leagues like Saudi Arabia,
Mm,
but they can achieve this status, you know, and given they don't have the same caliber of players, or they don't try to, but every now and then you see them bring in guys, but they bring in guys that are borderline retired, like what happened with Cristiano Ronaldo recently. Um,
right.
to try to boost people that watch their league.
So,
But
question for you: do you think the fact that it's broadcasted in English Is it plays a factor into it?
I think so, but then most of the people that watch these leagues, English isn't their primary language. You know, you look
Right.
at like
Because soccer, football is universal.
yeah, yeah. You look at like Asia, like China
Right.
or or India. I mean, that's where you have the largest populations. And you see diehard fans. Like I'll give you an example. In December, I was in the UK. I went to a Chelsea game, and while I was there, I saw a lot of people, you know, that were visiting from Asia at Stamford Bridge.
Right.
Right? So, you know, and you start to look at it and you're like, okay, these guys have really been able to create a league, make the quality, like you said, very good. So a lot of people are tuning in. They go on preseason tours to different countries, so they build up fans, and those stadiums are packed. So
Mm-hmm.
when you have you know, Liverpool or Manchester United go on preseason tour in China and they play a Chinese team, the stadium is packed. Or when you have Chelsea and AC Milan play in Michigan at the Wolverine Stadium, it's filled to the rafters. But
Feel.
then,
Right.
yeah, but an EPL team, I'm sorry, an MLS team can't generate that level of crowd, right? So
Right.
you know, so the question is, are these leagues, and let's say we're not even talking about Nigeria, let's say we're talking about the MLS, for instance, can these leagues wake up and figure out a way to really boost their followership where, you know, everyone in their countries are watching the EPL? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what you see because they're growing. Like the EPL has become almost like the NFL in a sense because of how big they are and the amount of money they
Yeah.
generate. Yeah, but the NFL is different because it's unique. You only have football at this level in the United States, but you
Right.
don't have you don't have. But soccer is different. Soccer is global. Almost every country has a soccer team or soccer league, right?
Right.
Um, but I don't know what it is. Like even in countries like Brazil, where you have arguably much better youth players in Brazil than in England. We can all agree to that, right? Um,
Right.
much better. I mean, Brazil exports the best players around the world. So the talent is there. Most of them feel like they have to go abroad because there's bigger money there. But I think that also has something to do with the fact that Brazil hasn't developed its league to a point where some of their best players say, "Nah, I'm staying in Brazil because they're paying me 50,000 or £100,000 a
Access.
week." Yeah.
Right.
So
You, you,
go ahead.
you know the funny thing is that for each league, right, the issue might be different, right? So as you're talking about a Brazilian league, right? I remember I was watching one video somewhere where a lot of the games in Brazil, you can't go there with your family. It's only guys outing type setup because it's gonna get violent or it's prone to be violent, right? So a game that's being televised on TV is only gonna garner so much attention from families in general because it's violent. Number two, it's only gonna garner so much support from sponsorship because of the same reason. And I think that violence part feeds into a lot of what is hampering those leagues back. Case in point, the Brazilian league, and I think Italian league too, so to a certain extent.
No, that's a good point. Because so yes, so the environment for the games, they're not conducive enough to attract everyone. They probably don't make it fun enough too. You're right though, because I've seen some of those Sudamericana games where Boca Juniors plays, I don't know, Flamengo, Brazil, and all of a sudden you see like people throwing bottles and it just gets crazy. Um,
Yeah, I mean it's
yeah,
passionate, but I mean how conducive is that to take your whole family and spend $250, buying food from the stands and all those? No, you rather just sit down and watch the game.
yeah. No, you're right
You
though.
know,
You're
so I
right.
think that feeds a lot into how those leagues operate. I mean, I don't know every aspect of it, but I can imagine that would be a big part of it.
No, you're absolutely
right?
right. It's a good point. I was watching the highlights from the Napoli game in Italy, in Serie A today. Osimhen scored again. That guy's a savage. Um, but I was watching it and I was just thinking, okay, the game was good. The quality of football was good. Everything was good. But then when you think about it, it comes down to the marketing, and I think that's the point you're trying to make is that the Italian
Is
league doesn't.
marketing money.
Yeah, they don't do as good a job as England to market their leagues, even though they do have the teams. A lot of players go there to play. I was watching today a lot of really good play. Some players that played in the EPL were there. Are still at their prime, but the Italian league just doesn't seem to really market its league around the world where people are like, oh man, I have to watch Italian league. Like I'll watch Napoli because of Osimhen, right?
Right, right.
But you don't see people talking about, oh, Italian league. I want to tune in to watch, AC Milan against Sampdoria. They don't people, but England, they've done that. Like if you hear Man U is playing Liverpool or Arsenal is playing Chelsea, you want to go see that game. I don't know,
Yep.
Chris, welcome in, man. What do you think?
What's going on, boss? What's going on, guys? Sorry I was a little late, man.
It's all good, man.
Yeah.
What's up, man? So, what do you think about this whole EPL worship and on all these other leagues? Do you think these other leagues can ever rise to the point where they make? I was just quoting the numbers to Dio: 3.2 billion people
Yep.
around the world as of 2019, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So that number has probably increased. We're watching EPL.
Yeah, I really don't think there's any league in the world right now that can. If we just look at TV rights, for instance, EPL, it's you can't compare it at all, bro. They're always gonna be the biggest league. The amount of people who watch Serie A, La Liga, the Bundesliga, it doesn't compare to the people who watch like the EPL and stuff. So
Yeah.
on that level, you can just see that it's always gonna be like that. You know what I mean? The EPL is always gonna be bigger.
But
Yeah.
but the funny thing though is it is not necessarily the best quality football in the league because if it was the case, you can argue that almost every other year you would have an English team winning Champions League,
Absolutely.
but that's not the case,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
So it's not necessarily the best football.
Another thing I feel like the English Premier League, they have found a way to market the league worldwide better than any other league. The biggest fan bases are in England. So from what you're saying, Dio, it makes sense because the team that has the most Champions League are in Spain. The teams that have, if you want to break it down in that way, it's we can go deeper into it, but I think from your standpoint, you're right. England should be coming up at least every other year winning the Champions League.
Every other year, right?
Yeah, every other year, not every year, but every other year.
Yeah, but it's interesting. They compete though. Like if you look at the last 3 or 4 Champions Leagues, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you look at the teams that get to the semifinal of Champions League consistently, there's usually always an EPL team in there, right? City,
only 2 or 3 teams. Only 2 or 3 teams though.
yeah. I mean, but you have how many teams? You have what? 4 teams that qualify, right? So out of the 4, 3 of them make it to the semifinal, quarterfinal, semifinal. Yeah. So they get to those big situations, those big dances. Yes, you may have I think last year, what did we have? We definitely had Real. We had we had City. I'm not sure what the other teams were, but you had PSG usually. But when you look at it, it's like the teams get more money. Like if you look at Europa League, like English teams get more money. To Dyer's point, but they don't necessarily show the best football or even beat teams that you think that ordinarily that they should beat because of the marketing. You're like, oh, um, you know, Tottenham is definitely going to beat, I don't know, Ajax in this Europa. But then they get in the game and Ajax beats them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
you look at it and you're like, okay, they may not actually be the best teams in terms of skill and talent, but because of the marketing, like you were saying, Chris, they've grown so big and they're doing so well that everyone just automatically like, oh man, they've created fan bases. I'll give you an example. Like you watch EPL games and you're like, oh, Washington DC Gunners. You know what I mean? You see stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
you see,
Yeah.
you see like LA Blues.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've established fan bases around the world. In China, like Chelsea goes on preseason in China, stadium is packed. People are wearing Chelsea jerseys.
Yeah.
You know?
You know the thing to your point, Mama, if you think back to 12, 15 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was probably around the time where a lot of these summer league competitions between the big European teams started,
Yeah.
right? And you think of, okay, back then we have started off and had a series of games and attendance was good off the bat. But now, ever since that's been going on, every year it seems to get more and more attention from non-EPL fans.
Correct.
And I think that has played a big factor in EPL's outreach. Because the top four teams now in EPL, I don't think they only come to the US. They some of them go to China, some of them go to different parts around the world to just play friendlies.
Yeah.
And that plays a huge impact.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy. It's crazy because, I'm looking at some stats right now and they said, according to Sports Business Journal, NBC Sports said that in 2021 and 2022, which is just last year, the viewership for EPL went up by 21%.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like these teams are getting so big and so powerful globally. And even in Europe, like you really don't even see anyone that's really challenging their dominance in terms of marketing and how big they're getting. And because the bigger they get, the TV rights are just going to go up.
Go up. Yep.
Yeah, NBC is going to pay more to. I know, like over here in Toronto, Fubu TV, which is kind of like
It's
an
big.
online.
Yes.
Yeah, they pay big money. They have the rights to show it over here, and it just keeps growing. And you're like, okay, they've obviously done a really good job running their league and marketing their league and getting people to watch, but you just have it. You're wondering, like, what are these other leagues doing? Like, how come La Liga isn't trying to push or boost its league as much? And it's getting to a point where the top La Liga players, the top Portuguese players, the top Italian players, all these guys want to go to the EPL to go play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you guys think about that? How they attract talent and how they've been able to build this stuff. And what can these other leagues do? Yeah, go ahead.
I think the more teams like Everton, Newcastle, Wolves, all these kind of mid-table EPL teams, the more they're able to recruit and buy players in the markets from all over the world.
Yeah.
Bigger those teams get, the bigger the EPL becomes.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's just been happening. So I was talking to somebody last month, and they were telling me, I didn't hear about they were talking about Leicester or one of the middle table teams,
Mm-hmm.
and how they like their style of play and how they never even knew Leicester was a team at all before. And now people that you wouldn't necessarily think were football fans over here in the US know of smaller teams in the EPL. How many teams can we mention in German league outside of Bayern, Dortmund, a couple other teams? Can we even mention 10 off the top?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
You're right.
yeah, you're right. You're right.
Right?
And yeah, and the thing is, like, I'm looking at it, the EPL started in the 90s. Some of these teams have existed for a long time, right? Back to the 1800s, but the league, the league we know today that started in 1991. And then they started introducing teams. I think there are 22 teams in 1992, and then they just kept building from there.
Right.
And they just kept growing and building, and they've been able to market it and attract more sponsors, and here we are today. Like, I think, when did Abramovich buy Chelsea? I think Abramovich bought Chelsea in
2006.
2006. Yeah, so obviously the league got rebranded in the 90s, and they just kept building, and then they attracted some of these investors to come in, and they bought teams, and they started marketing and bringing in top-notch players. I mean, so if you look at it, some of these other countries, they could do the same thing. They really can. But it just seems like, and they have the teams and they have the players, like La Liga, for instance. La Liga would have to change its business structure to say, okay, we're going to share more revenue. They already have the academies. They're already putting out some quality players, and they
Right.
can actually start. Yeah, you look at La Liga, you look at Serie A. There's no reason why they shouldn't have highly competitive leagues that are marketing themselves the same way.
Mm-hmm.
They're already paying good salaries there, but to the point that I was making before, you just don't see them marketing their leagues to that level.
Right.
Um, some of these countries, they're, they're not that much smaller than England. Let's be honest. Like
Right.
the Bundesliga. Germany is a bigger country.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bigger country, and the German teams are good. Their stadiums are packed though. If you ever watch a Bundesliga game, they have high attendance. Like, stadiums are packed. They
Right.
have a lot of fans that come through Bundesliga. I would even go to say, I could double check this, but I would go to say Bundesliga actually may have higher attendance than EPL.
Oh, really?
Right.
As a whole, yeah. Go ahead, Dario. Sorry.
Right. But for German league, I mean, in the last 20 years, how many seasons has Bayern won the Bundesliga?
Consistently, almost every season.
almost every
Almost
almost
every.
every season. You know.
Yeah.
So and I don't even know what the revenue sharing is for the German league, but I think that might I would guess that Bayern eats a huge portion of the cake.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I don't know. I don't
For
know.
that.
Yeah, it's a good point. I don't know what the rev share is and how their business is set up, but yeah. Bundesliga beat EPL in top attendance in Europe. So they have more people that come to their games. When you watch, I don't know if you guys ever get a chance to watch a Bundesliga game. Every now and then I'll go watch Dortmund because, I kind of like their setup and how they bring in good young players. And you notice that their stadiums are super packed. I don't know if you guys saw the Champions League game this past week. Chris, I'm sure you saw the game, right? Against
Yeah.
Chelsea.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
The
like,
the 1-0 loss. I mean.
yeah, 1-0 loss. Chris, you see how he rubbed that in 1-0 loss. but like, okay, so I'm looking at it right now. It says the German top flights average 44,500 fans per game, which is 6,000 more than the English top flight. In terms of average, 6,000 more per game. And Dortmund, by the way, they have the highest attendance in Europe. They have 79,000 fans that attend their games. The second team
Wow.
the second team is Bayern Munich. They have 75,000. And then the third team is Manchester United 74,000, then Tottenham 67,000, then Barca 66,000, Real Madrid 66,000. Number 7 is Schalke in Germany again 61,000. Then Arsenal 59,000. Then what do you call it? Inter Milan. Then Celtic 57,000. Then believe this or not, West Ham has 56,000. You know, so in the top 10, there are 3 German teams. You know, and if you look at the top 20, there are 5 German teams. So I think yeah,
That's interesting. I really didn't know that.
yeah, I know I did. I just looked it up. So the Bundesliga attracts a ton of fans. I think they market their leagues, but to the point, I think that you already said this, that it's not, if you watch a Bundesliga game that's being broadcast by a German station, it's in German, right? Unless you find like maybe an ESPN game or something where it's in English.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's interesting in that sense because they do a good job. They have the attendance, they have the viewership, they have the people, but still, EPL just gets it, man. And yeah, go ahead.
I think the international appeal too.
Yeah.
Well, the international this thing of being able to watch a game in English is it helps. But even when you at this point when you watch EPL, you go online or you go on one of the apps, almost every other country has coverage of an EPL game over the weekend in their own language.
Yeah, they do. They do. And another point is the money, right? The money they pay in the EPL. Some German teams don't pay that kind of money for players. So,
I think the money is a byproduct of the success, right? As opposed to being the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like, you do well, you have a good product, you have good advertising, you get good revenues, then you can play as well. You can't, it's an after the fact situation, after the this thing situation.
Yeah. So the success.
So while the money has a good effect on getting top players into the league now, I don't necessarily think that a better playing team necessarily, has better outreach automatically.
Yeah.
Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. They don't have better outreach, but because of their marketing, more players actually want to come to the league, right?
Right.
But those players want to get paid big money, and the EPL is willing to dish out that money. Because sometimes you see situations where, okay, there's a player that's coming out of Spain. Some Bundesliga teams are looking at him, but when they start bidding for that player, the player's value just keeps going up because more teams are bidding for the player. That after a while, those Bundesliga teams are like, screw this, we're not paying 60 million euros for this guy. But the EPL team will pay that 60 million. Like, Chris, how much did we pay for Modric?
Modric was, what was it? That's about 70 or something.
Yeah, paid all that money for that guy, and then we just like Chelsea in 2 transfer windows. Dio, we paid close to 600 million.
Yep.
In 2 transfer windows, the last one and then this January one. When you think about it, that's just ridiculous, man.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And for a handful of players, and we're not guaranteed anything, right?
We pay 70 million plus 30 add-ons.
You see?
Yo.
Yeah.
It's
a lot.
It's a lot, man.
For a 23-year-old, right?
22. He's 22.
22.
I mean, the guy is good, but I don't know if he's If he's
I
that
don't
good.
know if he's that. I don't know if he's that good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But
Yeah,
he's not. I will compare him to someone like Saka, but he's the only difference. What he has better than Saka to me is the speed. But as far as what he brings to the team and what Saka is up there, bro.
you know, I don't even know if he's necessary. He might be fast. I haven't heard his
No,
actual
he's one
speed.
of the fastest in the league right now, Daryl. He's fast.
Really?
Yes, he's
Okay,
fast.
okay. But the thing is, the first game for Chelsea, I watched him play a little bit, and his energy level, apart from his speed, his energy level during the game is immense. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I haven't seen him play, much prior to joining Chelsea. But I also wonder how long can he keep that up in EPL across the amount of games in the EPL, playing at that level of energy.
Yeah.
Is this sustainable?
That remains to be seen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that remains to be seen.
But that right now, he's actually the fastest player in the EPL. It's just
Really?
it says above Anton Gordon, recorded at 36.1 kilometers. And then next is the new Nunes guy, is the guy from Liverpool.
David Nunes.
Really?
Yes.
But the question is, how do they track that though?
Oh.
I mean, do they track his pace during the game with those? They have these fancy cameras that tracks all that stuff.
Yeah, we have that. So on the top, the top 5 fastest players in the league, Chelsea has 2. It's Modric and that Zakaria guy. That guy is another fast one too.
Zakaria, I like that boy, man.
And then they have Martinelli. Martinelli is fast too.
For Arsenal, yeah, he's a problem.
Martinelli is fast.
Yeah, and you see, and all these guys, man. I mean, the money they coughed up. Arsenal know they pay, Sha. Arsenal doesn't pay money like that.
No, Arsenal doesn't pay compared to some of these other clubs.
No, Arsenal.
We just get him in young and work our way up.
That's why it's surprising that you might actually win the league this
year. Yeah. They have to. I was telling that yesterday. Arsenal has no excuse. They have to win the league this year. If not, it's
the funny thing I have about the problem I have with that comment is at the beginning of this season nobody was making that comment. No, and I was arguing to him about this yesterday. It's not everywhere. Oh, yeah, nobody was saying that in the beginning of the season. They weren't saying Arsenal was going to win it.
No,
that was a conversation.
Can you agree with me? Yesterday I was having this conversation that I told Dio, right, of all the EPL teams, right, that had coming into this season, a team that had a better chance of performing well or even had a chance to win it was Arsenal. I'm not lying. Based on their preseason performance, they were flawless.
But Chris, you weren't saying that at the start of the season, though.
No, they were flawless.
I wasn't saying that. Even when they started winning, I said, "No, be Arsenal. Give them time. They'll soon lose to."
Yeah.
Thank you. At least you're acknowledging it right now because he wasn't saying it to. Now with hindsight of half a season passed us by, like, oh yeah, Arsenal should be. Nah, we're cautious, man. We're optimistic, but we're cautious.
I probably wasn't saying it, but from the beginning of the season, they did well. And coming in, and plus Arteta, it's taken him 3 years to put this team together to get them to where they are today.
He's done a good job.
He's done a great job.
Yeah.
He's done a great job. But all that job, he has to, with all the work he's put in, he has to deliver this trophy this season. If not, Arsenal might be looking at it all the time.
They have a clear lead, though. I mean, they have a clear lead ahead of them. I mean, I don't think they didn't win their last 2 games, right?
They haven't won their last 4 games.
No, I haven't won yet. Quite a few games, 3 games or something like that. Yeah.
They draw. They lost. They drew 2, lost 2.
Did they lose to City in the last game?
Yeah.
So
we did.
So maybe.
But they still got a game at hand, though.
Yeah.
we're tied for points and we still have a game in hand. But we, we, we,
Exactly.
we can talk about the city games. I have my own opinions about it. I've told Chris about it too. But
What happened?
I felt we didn't.
Tell us
No,
what
I felt we didn't lose. Man City didn't beat us. We lost the game. You understand the difference? We played ourselves into that loss, and the difference was shown between the team that has experience winning the league recently. These guys were calm in these games. Arsenal scored. Those guys were nervous. The mistakes they made were evident too. I mean, the style of play we're playing out the back. If
Yeah.
first half and second half were totally two different games. We dominated first half. We played well. Second half came around, and you know, Guardiola obviously figured out adjustments and all that. And they flipped the game on us. And once that happened, our defenders were acting funny. They were playing all these short passes at the back. At the point, I even thought Ramsey was going to make an error and score. You know,
and the thing is, City does a good job of pressing you. They do a very good job of pressing you. They know how to do it well. And some of their games, they win the ball early and immediately they win the ball. They know what to do. They're good at that.
Yep.
I mean, that we're gonna see now. We're gonna see. But I think you guys look good. I like your players. I won't lie.
No, I love the guys, man. They are young. We still have next 3-4 years to be bright for us. But being bright doesn't equal trophies, man. We have to pick one of those seasons and power through. And this is as good as any season, so we might as well win it now. So in that sense, I agree with Chris. We have to win it.
Yes, of course.
This
But starting and saying, "Oh, we started the season knowing Arsenal was supposed to win it," nah. We didn't know that.
Arsenal wasn't on the radar.
Nah, we're on the radar at least till next year.
Yeah, we were like, okay, it's Arsenal. If they make top 4, that'll be a win for them. But then they just started winning games non-stop, back to back, scoring, winning games, scoring, winning games, scoring, winning games. But the fact that City's tied with you now is a problem.
I think that changes things, especially in the head of the players. It changes things.
Yeah,
the pressure is now really on them on every game to perform. And that's where that experience comes in.
Jesus coming back.
It's supposed to be the end of the month.
Wow.
End of February. I haven't even read up on what his injury was. Looks like I think it was his hamstring or something.
Let me look it up real quick. Yeah. Yeah. Partey. De Jesus is a huge. Is a huge. Huge loss because that guy. That guy was playing.
His energy is on 10, man.
Yeah, he was playing out of his mind, man. I mean, that guy is so good. Talking about his injury, but they're not saying exactly what's wrong with him. Yeah, he's 29 years old. They're not saying what's wrong with him, but they are talking about injury. Yeah, it's a muscle injury, though. That much they are saying. But look, I think for Partey.
For Partey, yeah.
Yeah, but I think for you guys, man, definitely Arsenal's looking good, man. And Arsenal fans, goodness. Speaking about this EPL worship thing, it's just gotten ridiculous around the world. Like Arsenal fans, I think Chelsea has more fans, though.
Don't get that. I don't get that. That is an emotional guy. He doesn't anything Chelsea gives him his blood pressure goes up.
No, this is not a popularity contest, so I'm not going for being who has the most fans. I'm just going for trophies.
No, but if you guys win, that'll be huge, man. Because the last how long has it been? It's been rough for us.
2004 now.
But don't be scared. Say 20 years.
2004, man. That's what.
20 years.
No, going on 19 years, man. It's not 20 years now. It's not 20 years.
Isn't it 20 years?
It's not 20 years now. 2004 now.
Okay, yeah, 19
You know,
years.
19 years or so.
My
But
goodness.
I mean, he'll be big, man.
Yeah,
He'll
man.
be huge.
It'll be huge, man. You know, you
So
call it. You're definitely making Champions League. That's guaranteed, though.
yeah, I mean
That's
that's a step.
that's guaranteed. Because you guys are. When was the last time you were in Champions League? That was also
6 years ago.
You see how Chris has his stats ready.
Yes, man, I have to because
You
Arsenal
know,
fans, they are. I understand what it means a lot this season if they make Champions League. I
Yeah.
think it's been a long time coming. Yeah, they have to make Champions League this season.
Yeah.
To bring
No,
them game.
if they don't make Champions League, that means something catastrophic happened. That means
Yes.
they just self-destructed.
oh yeah, you're right. If we don't make Champions League, yeah, somebody hit the self-destruct button
Yeah, definitely.
because
Something terrible happened. But I think you guys made
that
Champions
would mean the first half of the season was a complete flip to the
Yeah.
second half.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. But the
but
fact that
I mean, we at least have that.
you haven't won, in 4 games, isn't that concerning as well?
No, I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so. I mean, if we want, we can sit down and analyze each of those games. And in some games I blame the defenders. In some games I blame Arteta. For instance, that Brentford game
Yeah.
last week, 1-0 up in the 65th minute. There are some ways as a coach you just have to adapt to the situation. I think. Brentford were very good in the area. It was evident. We had almost given up a couple goals up to that point, from corners and crossings and all that stuff. When you go one up, switch it up, man. Play defensive, be dynamic during the game.
Yeah.
And I feel like he didn't make that change.
I see. So you guys played Villa.
Yeah, that's a big game. That's
Tomorrow.
a big game tomorrow.
That's a big game too. Yep.
Then you played Leicester and then Bournemouth in March.
Yeah.
And then Fulham, Crystal Palace, Leeds. Oh, it's a pretty easy schedule, though.
It's a pretty easy schedule next games. Yeah.
Next 5 games. And then you kind of go into a period in Liverpool, West Ham, Southampton, City again, and then Chelsea. Chelsea's on April 29th. So, yeah, it's a pretty easy set of games. I think, for you guys, it all comes down to now, if you drop points in this next set of games, Dio, bro,
It's over.
yeah, it's a problem.
I think it's over. It's at that point then it's in City's court to see how well or how consistent they perform.
Yeah.
But then again, if we both drop points, now we have to be contending with United because they're only 5 points behind.
Yeah, City knows how to stay on top. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they don't panic too much. They do what they do well, and they go out and they do very well. They don't panic when some teams, when you're at the top of the league, there's a lot of pressure, man. A lot of pressure, and those you can end up losing to a team you have no business losing to just because of the pressure to win every game.
Yeah.
And if your players aren't
But-
mature enough.
But one thing with City is they always make adjustments. They always tweak at halftime.
Yeah.
You know how many times during this season alone they've been down
You're right. Pep
at
is
like 2-0 at halftime. He's a master in that.
master of that. Yes,
2-0 at halftime, 1-0, and they win the game in the second half.
Yeah, Guardiola is a hell of a coach, man.
A hell
of a coach.
Hell of a coach, man. I mean, when you watch him, you're like, and he demands. You could tell, like he demands certain things from his players. Demands it. This is how you're going to play. This is what you're going to do, and they do it very well. And then he keeps it simple. When I went to watch the Chelsea game live, it was against City, and I swear to you, bro, that De Bruyne, that guy, man. I swear to you, look, because he doesn't waste a lot of energy on the game, during the game, doesn't run too much. But when they get the ball, he immediately starts to make some crazy runs. And Bernardo Silva knows where he has to be. They get him the ball, and then Haaland immediately starts to make certain type of runs once De Bruyne gets the ball.
Right.
Like they play it's like clockwork. I was watching them. It was amazing.
They did the same thing in the game against Arsenal now. I think two of the goals were, a bad pass by defenders, but once they got that ball, the turnover was so fast.
Man,
Yeah.
they're good at what they do, and they're used to being on top, so they don't panic too much. I want you guys to win, to be honest with you. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I think
I want Arsenal to win, man. Let their fans be happy for once. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, but that's City Pro. If you could win the next 5 games, which are games you should win, Leicester, Aston Villa, but in EPL there's no such thing as an easy game
at all.
Which goes back to the point for why this worship is going to go on for a long time is the parity in the league, the level of competition is high, and it's been this way for a long time. There are teams, you might be doing well. I remember back in the day, Chelsea used to hate to go to Burnley.
Yeah, and Stoke.
And Stoke. Yeah. We go to those places, and like clockwork, something goes wrong, and we lose the game. I'll never forget, man. You end up going to Stoke, you're playing, next thing, boom, corner kick, they're up 1-0. Next thing, you're trying to equalize, next thing, boom, one of your players gets a red card. The game ends, it's 3-1. Stoke beats us. Happens all the time, man. And there's so many teams like that in that league. So it's good because you might look at like a City and say, okay, yeah, they're playing Brentford this weekend. It should be a W. But then you want to watch the game because Brentford could just park the bus, get a couple of counters, and win the game.
Yep. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. So to your point, I think another thing there that maybe the reason for why this league just continues to go more powerful is I think you said this before, Dio, is the competition level. It keeps you on the edge of your seats. You want to watch the game. You want to see what's happening. And to be honest with you, sometimes I might watch 1 or 2 EPL games on a Saturday, and then I'll look at the TV and they'll be like, Ligue 1, PSG against Monaco. And I wouldn't even want to watch it. I don't know if that happens to you guys, right? And I'm just like, yes, I don't want to watch it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't even know how to explain it, right? Because even there are days where I just want to watch football, right? And there might not necessarily be an EPL game on at that time, and there's a French league game or La Liga game on.
Yeah.
But the quality of not necessarily the football, but just the quality of the viewing the game on TV is totally different. Aside from just the fact that it's not English or it's French or whichever, just maybe just the way it's recorded, the camera angles, the sound quality, the sounds of the fans, the whole package is different.
It is.
I mean, do you notice that too?
Yeah, it is. It's very
totally different.
And I guess another thing also could be that when you follow a league and you're so used to watching the league, players that don't even belong to your team. So, for instance, I could watch Brentford and I could point out that guy that's a striker. What's his name? That has all the tattoos.
Ivan Toney.
Yeah, Ivan Toney. I could watch Newcastle and I'll be like, oh, Sam Maximan. Or I could watch, there are players on each team that I could identify, and I was like, oh yeah, this guy's good. Let me check out this game, right? Because you watch the league. We've been watching the league for a long time already, over a decade, right? But then there was a time that I used to watch the French league religiously.
Really?
Because they had at that time they had El Hadji Diouf was playing there. Kalilou Fadiga was also playing. And then Drogba and Essien played there before they
Yeah,
both came to Chelsea. Essien was playing for Lyon. Drogba was playing for Marseille. That
Marseille.
was, yeah, that was the season that he scored 29 goals.
Yeah,
I would watch because I'm like, man, these guys are good. Like this, and also there are a lot of African players. In the French league has the highest amount of African players. So because of that,
Yeah.
I would tune in to watch the French league and young players too, very skillful. So I'll be like, man, I'm checking out this league, and it's always been good. This was long before the Emiratis or Saudis they bought up PSG
Yeah.
because once that happened, the competition suffered. PSG just started winning every single season.
Season. Yeah.
Every season. I mean, I don't think they've lost in the last, I don't even know, 5, 6 seasons. They've won every season.
And it's the detriment of the league. The
Correct.
moment they realize that, when you stifle the other teams, you're stifling the league.
Yeah. Yeah, it's time
You
for the
know?
league. And another thing is when you watch like same thing in La Liga, Barca, Real, maybe Atletico Madrid, or Barca, Real. And it gets to a point you're like, okay, like why am I even watching if Barca is playing Zaragoza, I don't want to watch. I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're right though. I think we nailed it. The competition level becomes a problem because just like we know what's going to happen. But in the EPL, you guys could lose to Villa tomorrow, easy.
Yeah. We
It's not
hope not though.
guaranteed. Yeah, well, I hope not for your sakes. I hope not. But you know what I mean. Like, it's not a
Right.
guaranteed W for you.
No.
And even if you win, you're going to have to earn it. Like your players are going to have to go out there and play extremely hard. Unlike in France or in Germany, like Bayern never lose. They rarely lose to those teams in Bundesliga.
And to a point, going back to some of these guys that Chelsea pays top dollars, other teams to pay top dollar for,
Yeah.
coming into the Premiership. Some of those guys, week in, week out, every game is a fight,
Oh yeah.
right? As opposed to wherever league you're coming from, French league, some days are tough games, some days are easier games. Premiership, every single game, every time on the field is a fight.
Big
Every time you're on the ball is high pressure.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
100%. And,
so
and it's an amazing league, no question about that. And I think for us, that's the key. Let me ask you this, Dio. I don't know if you've ever followed the Niger League, but what do you think about that league and the potential or the ability just to even become? Clearly, we're not going to be like the EPL. The economy won't even support it, but just to be a highly recognized league in Africa.
I don't really follow the Niger league, but from just what I know about Nigerians and football, I mean the potential is immense,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
If we sort of take the music industry, right, as an example,
Yeah.
if you look at where it's 20 years ago, 15 years ago, compared to now, where we turn on the radio at any point in time, Afrobeats is gonna come on, Davido is gonna pop up. It's crazy.
Dio,
Why can't that same thing happen to the Nigerian Football League?
bingo, you just nailed it, man. I think you just nailed it. That is the key.
Why?
Right? So it's been done in music, it's been done in movies,
Right.
right? Yes, Nollywood is not Hollywood, which is the biggest platform for movies in the world. It's not Hollywood,
Right.
but in Africa, Nollywood is number one. Right. And if you go to a lot of countries around the world, there are people that watch Nigerian movies religiously. And what have they done? They've created an industry. They've packaged it to a certain degree and they've put it out there. The whole Afrobeat thing is just ridiculous now. And they did the same thing. Dude, you remember back in the day where it was just like Olu Maintain, Yauze. Yeah,
Two-Face.
yeah. You remember Olu Maintain, right?
Yeah,
Yauze.
yeah, now, of course, now
Yeah,
they will
yeah.
come and perform at, whatever concert you could put together for them, or Nigeria Reunion, or one of
Yeah,
these kind of
yeah.
venues.
There was no Wizkid, there was no Burna, there was no, you know, Davido. None of those guys they were not even a thought. It was Olu
Right.
Maintain, it was Two-Face, it was, I forgot what's that guy's name that made Gongo. So I forgot.
Nice,
Nice,
nice.
and
P
those
squared, all
P
these guys.
Squared, yeah, those guys set the foundation, right, for
Right.
what we're seeing today. Like I talk to people and they're like, "Oh yeah, Afrobeat, Afrobeat, Afrobeat." Even people here in Toronto, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I remember, yeah, yeah, yeah." I said, "Do you know Two-Face, or do you know?" They're like, "Nah, they don't know any of
Nah,
those people." You know what I mean? They know Wizkid,
yeah.
they know Burna. They're like, I'm just like, man, look. So it grew from that point, and I remember when it really started to take off. You know, the quality of what is there today, you know,
Yep.
compared to, I listened to, what's his name, Omale. I like that kid.
Mhm.
I listen to his music, but the quality of what it is today compared to what it was is night and day.
It's
You know,
huge.
Thames just got a Grammy, right?
Right.
Yeah. So to your point, man, the tools are there, the platform is there, the ability to create something
The
of a quality,
talent is there. Yeah.
everything, everything. The weather is perfect. You can create a product. You can create games that we might be here and we might want to sit down and watch because the quality of football is just high class.
And the biggest thing, the outreach is
Yeah,
possible.
it is
Nigerians are everywhere around the world,
all around the world.
right? So
All
so
around the
think
world.
about how Afrobeats took off, right?
Yeah,
We're all over the place. These guys, some of these artists, they're big enough, they come and tour here, and they tour the US, they do, a little back in the days, that is, right?
yeah,
But everybody knows every Nigerian here and there everywhere. So if you think about that same application to football, if we actually created a product of a league in
yeah.
Nigeria that actually entertained not only Nigerians in Nigeria, but actually Nigerians outside the diaspora watching it, think of how big that can be.
Exactly. And if you had a subscription service to
Oh
watch, and it was like, even if the subscription service was like $3, per month,
man, right,
or $5, let's just say $5 per month,
right,
and you really start to push it and you really start to advertise the league in those cities around the world that have huge Nigerian populations. So I'm talking about the Londons, I'm talking about the Houstons, I'm talking about the
right,
Atlantas, you see what I'm saying?
yeah,
And those places around the world, dude, by default, you have some of these Afrobeat stars come in, talk about Nigerian league. You see what I'm saying? Maybe
yep,
even create an intro to the league using Wizkid or Burna. Yeah, you pay him, but guess what? That'll be the ad. It'll go crazy on social media. Dude, you start joining people to watch the games. But these clowns over there, and I hate going in on them because but bro, I can't help it, man. I can't help it. Every time I get into this, I have to go in on those clowns. These guys just sit back. It's the same thing, man. They sit back and like, okay, yeah. They had a sponsorship with Glow, millions of dollars, right? And
mhm,
essentially, they took that money from Glow and they were supposed to share it with teams. But then, typical Ninja, there was some kind of corruption thing. Teams were not getting money. Glow pulled out. Glow said, "Man, screw you guys. I'm out."
oh,
Yeah, They had a deal with Super Sport. They sold broadcasting rights to Super Sport at one time. At one time, you would watch Super Sport and you watch Nigerian Premier League games. You know, that was the time when Aimba went and won CAF Championship.
Right.
Yeah. But guess what? They messed that up too. Super Sport pulled out, said, I can't deal with these guys, man. You know what I mean? Typical Ninja, man. Everyone has their hand out.
Is our lack of governance, man, self-governance. That's
yeah, man.
That's what's killing the league overall. But I think that applies to Nigeria too as a whole itself.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, you would just hope to some extent that for the love of the sport, we can do some things better to promote that league, because the talent, man, the talent in Nigeria is immense.
Yes, and let me give you an example. I was in Ninj in November last year, right? I was in Lagos and Abuja, and just driving around, I would see all these posters everywhere about some church revival.
Ah,
right? Church revival, church revival, church revival, Holy Ghost fire, Holy Ghost fire.
that's for you.
Yeah, so and guess what? When you drive by those revivals, it's bananas. I'm talking about crowds,
It's packed.
Yeah.
People screaming, music blaring, and guess what? All those people are paying.
Yep, the pastors are living it up.
Living it up. Those people are not there for free. They're gonna pay.
Yeah.
So I said to my friend, I'm like, bro, why don't we just take a book, or take a page out of these pastors' books and use their
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy knew he works with NFF. I said, why don't we just take a page out of their books and use the same blueprint to have our teams attract people to their games, create a party environment. You're gonna have packed stadiums. Because bro, those pastors, those churches I'm talking about, Dio, thousands of people. Some pastors actually used stadiums. You know Tafawa Balewa Square in Lagos?
Yeah.
They said revival fills that place up.
Nigerians,
Imagine
man.
if all those people bring 1,000 naira.
Can you imagine? Chris, I don't want to get away from sport, but think about this, right? You know how people are like, oh, our community, we don't have there's no water, or our roads are bad, or we need to, we don't have power. If you have a revival and everyone brings 1,000 naira together based on the kind of revivals or so, they'll fix a lot of community problems.
Yes.
Of course.
They'll build stadiums. They'll build sports facilities.
They'll fix
do a whole bunch of things.
Schools. Anything. Schools, yes.
Yes. Hospitals.
Anything they want to fix, they'll get it done.
Yeah.
But what you see is just, nah, man, I have money, but then you go to revival and give
5,000 naira.
Give me 5,000. You know what I mean? Nigeria people, I beg, don't hate me for this. So I'm not criticizing your churches, but I kind of am. But
You kind of are.
Yeah, I am. It's just madness. Because when I was there, I was just like, this is madness. And you see the posters everywhere, dude. That you could drive through a certain place, you see like 20 different posters for 20 different pastors.
Mm-hmm.
Just so it's huge. Yeah, man. But go ahead, bro.
No, it's just a typical Lagos and not even Lagos, Nigerian problem, right? We spend too much time praying on our knees rather than doing work to actually improve on our situation.
Yeah.
But I mean, the potential, like you said, is just, it's immense. I mean, when you just look at, the music industry, the movie industry, like you said, what the league, can be.
Yeah. And that, you know what's even crazy about those two industries that we're celebrating? They're successful because they've crossed over. You know what I mean? Like, they've crossed over into global audiences.
Mm-hmm.
In Nigeria, they haven't created the environment for them to really maximize their money unless they perform.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so like these guys, I think these days they make money off downloads of people that play their songs on platforms, right? Like
And
Spotify.
streaming, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah, streaming.
yeah, first of all, we don't have. If you tell someone to start streaming whiskey video, they say, "Bros, I don't get data." You know, am I lying, bro? Am I lying? I'm telling the truth, man. Bro, data no deal. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
we're killing the ability to even earn money because we're not trying to develop that space. I mean, ordinarily you can have you should have an underground artist in Nigeria who no one knows, who's a musician, but he's making a lot of money because people like his music, and you've created that environment for that kid to make money. And the same thing is with football, because football in all these different cities around the country, they have teams. If you're able to create an environment where people could go in there, watch the game, have a good time, you're able to help alleviate some of the wahala they have in their lives because they'll just go watch a game. You know what I mean? But now, like you said, a lot of people can't go to games. They don't want to go. If they go, thugs might harass them for cash.
those my arrested of course.
Yeah.
You know the funny thing is when I mean if we want to kind of put a practical application to the visibility of a team actually operating in Nigeria as a team in a league, right? And you look at some of the most basic things you will need to operate a team: transportation, right?
Mhm.
Moving the whole team from Lagos to Enugu or from Lagos to Ibadan on the roads. That's
That's the
that's
problem.
that's one that's one that's a problem.
That's the problem. Yeah.
That's a problem,
That's the problem.
right?
If,
And
if if it was me, bro, what I would do in that Nigeria league, I would let teams in the same region play each other for the most part in the league, and then every now and then, so you would have divisions, kind of like how you have NFL, where you have different divisions, and you play in your division for the most part, and then because to your point, transportation is an issue.
right,
Yeah. So it's
I mean, having a good field, well function, maintained field. I think that's probably the smallest thing. Paying
yeah,
the players not as big a problem as you would think,
yeah.
but transportation, setting up a league that is not, you know, riddled with corruption.
Yeah, man.
That's a huge.
Yeah, man. It's a big problem. I used to think at one point that what they need to do is just get rid of the current Niger League and then create a new league, new Premier League, kind of how EPL got rebranded, right?
Mhm.
Create a total. And I think they tried that at one point. They did, and it was successful in Niger terms for maybe like 2 years, and then the guy who was heading it left, and then some clowns just came in, and that's when they lost all those sponsorships. Because dude, they had Glow, they had Guinness, they had a couple of sponsors. Then they had the Super Sport broadcasting deal. Super Sport broadcasting their games live across Africa. So it was looking promising at one point.
Right.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, sponsors pulled out. Super Sport was like, no, I can't deal with you guys. They cut the deal. You know, um, so you ask yourself, it's like, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, the sponsors I think are really the key to jump starting it. But
Hmm.
like you said, in the long term, those teams have to be able to at least reasonably support themselves, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Not necessarily flourish, but at least find a way to boost gate revenues, food sales at the games, at least generate some kind of income to sustain a team outside of just sponsorship,
100%.
right?
Yeah,
Because I imagine, a team, not every team is going to have a sponsor like Glow and Guinness and all
hmm,
that, but
yeah,
at least they should have some sort of business model to sustain and
yeah,
compete to a
yeah,
certain level.
yeah. Yeah,
You know,
part of the problem is they don't work. Those teams, a lot of them are owned by the state governments. So if you look at like Heartland or Owerri, you know, they're owned by the Imo state government. So they essentially use it for political favors. Oh,
which I think is kind of weird because here in the
yeah,
US here, well, even in Europe, it's never like that.
no,
Even the U.S.
right?
national team self, it's like an organization that runs them. Has nothing to do with the government. It's just what do you call it here? It's like a non-profit organization that runs them. You know what I mean? So how they use it's so weird in Africa and all these other countries,
yeah,
man.
no, and you know what? It's not all across Africa. It's primarily Nigeria. I'll give you an example. TP Mazembe of Congo.
Yeah.
It's privately owned. The guy owns like a big, I think it's a mining company or something. Privately owned. They get paid good money, and they're always in CAF Champions League competing.
Wow.
South African teams, the
Right.
South African League, a lot of those
Oh yeah,
guys, privately owned. They compete well. They get the best players they can buy from across Africa to come play in their leagues, and they compete. Look at Morocco. A lot of players that play for the Moroccan team play in Morocco in the World Cup.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's true.
they've created a league that works. Same thing with Egypt. I think last AFCON when we played Egypt, you look at their roster, guys starting on the field. A lot of them played for Al Ali, Zamalek. You know, they don't leave Egypt. So
Yeah.
it's that sort of thing when you look at our leagues, like, okay, like what are we doing here? If they could scrap the current system and get some of these Nigeria people that are billionaires to own teams,
I'm
the league,
telling you.
the league will change.
Yep.
It'll change. But government is the biggest business in Nigeria, and they have their hands in everything. So nothing can, even the football. But there's some people that own private teams. I think like Bukola Saraki owns a private team in Kwara. MFM, the church, owns a
Right.
team in Lagos.
Really,
Yeah, man.
really.
Yeah. I wonder where they got the money from. But they own a team in Lagos. Ifeanyi Uba.
But okay.
Yeah, Ifeanyi Uba owns his own team. There are a few. There are a few
They need
individuals.
to go and beg the rest of the big men. I know Dangote wanted to buy Arsenal at one point in time. He needs to start in Nigeria first.
There you go. Like,
Yes, I agree with you.
and
You know,
honestly, even if you were to get not the entire league, but let's say you got 5 teams, 5, 6 teams, or even 7 teams that were owned private individuals funding it, and they were rich, powerful Nigerian. Those guys would hold the league accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if you're let's say you're Dangote for a second, and you own a team, and then you find out that the league is scheming off money that your team should get, or you're Dangote, so you can easily lobby for that league to get their act right, and they will.
Yeah.
Especially if it's companies like sponsoring the Super Eagles, and you go to the federation and say, "Hey, either these guys get their deal right, or I'll pull my sponsorship." They'll fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll fix it, man. But just you know,
I definitely think it's probably the only viable plan to have all these big men come in and own teams,
yeah,
and
that's
a lot of them have um uh a lot of them have companies anyway that they own. So Dangote can put Dangote Cement, and Tedola can put what was it, Forte Oil, and all these other companies that they own.
yeah. And that, to your point, that's what it was back in the day. You had Abiola Babes.
Abiola, yes.
You had
Yes.
insurance of Benin.
BCC Lions.
You had BCC Lions of
Yeah.
Boku.
Yes. Lobby
You had
Stars.
you had Mighty Jets of Jos.
Yes. Joss. Yep. Yep.
Privately owned. Leventis,
Yeah.
the supermarket, owned the team.
Yeah.
Julius Berger owned the team.
Yeah.
Yakubu Agbeni played for Berger. Julius Berger before he went. Yeah.
And these are businesses or corporations that are still functioning in Nigeria, though.
A lot of them are, except Leventis, though. Leventis is.
I don't know about Leventis, but
Yeah.
But yeah, but that's what I'm saying. And at that time, Dio, if you to go to a game, the attendance was ridiculous. I'm talking about 50,000 easy in the stadium.
wow.
Mhm.
I'll never forget. I was a
That's
kid.
crazy.
Yeah,
50,000.
50,000. I was a kid. My uncle took me to go see a new Nigerian bank game, NMB of Benin. They had a game. I went to watch it. It was so packed.
Wow.
It was so packed. Like we had to get it 2 hours before just so we could get in to the stadium. It was a national stadium. Surulere.
Wow.
Now, do you know where Sulere is?
Yeah, no will, first of all. Yeah, no will. You know, what if throwing out ideas here? What if these teams actually even collaborated with musicians in Afrobeat to perform at the stadium?
Bro, there's so
That
much.
would definitely drive attendance. There are so many ideas, man.
You're right. That's a good market. That's a good
Yeah.
That's a great.
Put a concert on the game.
Yes.
Game.
Put a halftime concert, man. Throw it on.
Throw it
That's
on,
it.
yeah.
Stadium will be
Man.
packed. People will have to stay to
It'll be
watch.
fire.
Yeah.
It'll be fire. You know, just like they do
And
the
then
Super
now
Bowl
you-
here. Like halftime show, they bring in a big artist,
There
you know, perform. You're right. So people we don't,
You know, and
they don't think like that.
Yeah. I mean, you're just now
but-
infusing the Afrobeats culture into football, which is
Yeah, but Chris, the madness when they worry these people, we say, they will talk, say, oh, my brother, go and sit down there. Which kind of concert? So this money when state government they give me, you don't make a carry this money, go give one useless whiskey. Come out here. Out of this 100 million, make I carry 30 million, go give whiskey.
Yeah.
when I can share this money.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is the fundamental problem when you think about it. Like, because the state government, if they own a team, they give the team a budget and they give them cash.
yeah.
So that guy the guy that runs that team has no incentive to go work. Why should he? Why should he go work for anyone when he's sitting down at home and they're cutting him a check?
Got easy money.
Easy money. Then you now come from America and tell him to go and work. Chris will come from America and say, "Hey, I have some ideas for you to go and work for your money." So
Yeah.
You tell his personal assistant, "Oh, but no, bring that guy come here again."
Short-sightedness, man.
Bro. It's I'm telling you, man, this is and that's the reason why. Listen, I know players, bro, they say, man, this team won't sign me, but the guy they saying go collect my sign-on bonus. I will take them. I'm like, but I'm like, you have to do what you have
that kind of situation, it's a gamble. You know why I say it's a gamble? I've been following this Victor Osimhen's story. You know, he has some issue with his own family, or his sister's husband. But I don't know if you're following that story.
No, what's happened?
Bro,
No.
this guy, Osimhen, if you go and look at his history, his sister's husband, his older sister's husband is his manager. So Osimhen had a manager before, and the guy, his brother-in-law convinced him to fire him. He fired his manager. Now his brother-in-law had connections with, clubs in Europe and all this stuff. But when Osimhen was grinding in Nigeria, he had a manager he was working with. Long story short, he fired his manager and his brother-in-law took over. Now, the guys, they're going to court for some kind of crazy amount. They say he owes him 500 million. It's just a crazy mess, man.
Wait, the brother-in-law is saying that Osimhen owes him.
Yes, Osimhen owes him money. He gave Osimhen all the connections to go to Europe and all this stuff. The reason I'm saying this story is just because of what you just brought up. You know, in Nigeria, they use it as a gamble. You got to take that chance. You know, do you sacrifice somebody giving you the opportunity just to take that sign-on bonus, and you showcasing your talent on the worldwide stage where you can get picked? You know what I mean? So you got to think about it. How much is the sign-on bonus in Nigeria versus if I play my heart out, if I shine, if I perform well, some team in Europe will just call me, and that changes my whole family life.
Yes, sir.
You know, that's the same thing Osimhen did.
Yeah,
you know,
Osimhen went to Europe through under 17 though.
Yeah, I'm talking about before then.
Before under 17.
I'm talking, the manager he had before then.
Okay.
Yeah. Now it's him and his brother-in-law that's duking it out, man. It's a sad story, but Igbo people are money, man. It never ends well.
But Osimhen don't be Igbo, boy.
So
no, bro, his brother-in-law is Igbo.
Okay.
His brother-in-law is Igbo.
So this whole time is you're stereotyping.
You're stereotyping Igbo.
So his brother-in-law has been his manager all this while.
I'm gonna send you guys the this thing. The guy, Daddy Phrase was just interviewing his sister, his family, all of them. It's a crazy story,
If the guy is asking for 500 million, that means the guy don't hammer already to begin with.
That's nothing now. Somebody Osimhen was paying each member of the family. They say every month around 10,000 euros every month. That's nothing now. Was giving them. He bought houses for all of them in Lagos. He bought houses for all his sisters and their husbands in Lagos. That's nothing now.
And you know what's crazy about the timing of this lawsuit? He's about to blow.
Yep.
Right now, Osimhen is one of the hottest things in Europe. He's about to blow right now. If Osimhen, when he finishes this season, is going to be the highest goal scorer in Serie A.
Yep.
So the dollars are going to be called for him. Now EPL is the next destination, and from what we
Man U probably get him,
and they're going to pay over 60 million pounds. I promise you, to get him. And the way the business works, the agent fee associated with that 60 million might be between 5 to 10%. So, this guy taking him to court, and then if this guy is taking him to court, that means this guy can't do that deal.
Yeah,
that means somebody else is going to have to do that deal
and get the money. Damn,
they're gonna get the money, man. Whoever Osimhen says, like if Osimhen says, okay, you know what, this Italian guy, man, I like you, can't do the deal. He just made that guy a multi-millionaire, just like that, man. So maybe this guy is vexed because he doesn't want the guy to represent him anymore. Who knows, man? This situation.
Who knows what the original cause of the whole lawsuit and argument was?
I just sent you guys the this thing, the YouTube stuff. You see it. It's a sad story, man. It's a very sad story. Very sad. This is the time the guy is supposed to be enjoying his family, enjoying his money with his family, and then somebody's coming there to just disrupt the whole shit, man.
Yeah, man. But you know what? If I ever talk to any of these guys, I want to get their story. Any of these guys playing in Europe, whether it's a Henacho or any of these guys, can you imagine the number of people that will be calling them from Niger for money? Old coaches, think about it.
Former teammates, everything,
bro.
Boma, let me tell you.
Last night you just change your number. Nobody will find your number, man.
Bro, let me tell you a story. When I lived in Nigeria, right? I don't know if you guys know a player called Peter Ogaba.
I know Peter Ogaba.
You know a player called Lemi Issa, a goalkeeper?
I can't remember him.
Okay. These guys, they played for Nigeria back in 93, 94. You know, they were the ones that they represented Nigeria in what I think it was Japan or one of those World Cups or something like that. This guy, this Peter Ogawa guy, he based in Belgium. He was making so much money in Europe. Him and his family, bro, it's just family saga, man. Back to what you were saying, the way they call them for money is like the little money you make. It's like it's like the whole family is depending on you, you know. And you as the guy who is the breadwinner, you feel obligated to take care of everybody, but you really can't do that. You know, you can only do so much for people to help them out, but when they start relying on you and you can't, the day you say you can't do it, it's over.
It's done.
It's a done deal. It's a big problem.
Done.
So
yeah, you're right. Go ahead, Mike.
So it's this Osimhen's family thing, man. It's sad, but man, that's why sometimes you got to be careful what you wish for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my man, Michael Cole joined the call.
Hey, what's up, Mike? Welcome back.
I remain loyal.
Hey, Mike.
All day. So let me tell you guys something. I came in here specifically for one thing, and I know Boomer already knows what it is. I came to hail my complete combo of Kavicha, Varaskelia, and Victor Osimhen. And the fact that you guys are already talking about this duo here, it warms my heart because there's nothing else I want to touch. Premier League, Premier League. Give me 11 Victor Osimhens and 11 Varaskelias, and I win every league in the world. I'm telling you.
Osimhen is on fire. He's killing it. I watched the game today, man. I was so impressed.
That goal today.
Yeah.
That goal today. I mean, Marcus Rashford scored something similar in Europa League just yesterday against Barcelona, actually. But the Victor Osimhen's goal, it just encapsulates everything. In fact, if you look at both goals today, I don't know if you guys happen to watch the match and or see the highlights.
I saw the highlights. Yeah.
Varaskelia's goal,
Varaskelia-esque.
It captures the essence of that guy. You know, the highlights didn't do justice to how he dominated that first 20 minutes of the match. The first 20 minutes, Varaskelia was just unplayable. And they had one play on the right back. You could see the fear in his eyes. There was one time that he sat the right back down. He sat him down. He got the ball, stopped it, faked a move. The right back reacted, pulled the ball back. The right back came, passed him. The right back was on his knees.
That kid is good, man. That kid is a solid.
I know we want to talk about our boy Osimhen, and of course, anyone that follows me at all knows that's my current favorite player. But let me be honest with you. The best player in Italy right now is that 22-year-old man. That boy is special. He's special. And I'm so sad that we're going to break them up. I keep saying this. It's my new clarion call. Don't break that duo up, man. Give football fans something to enjoy because I haven't.
What do you suggest should happen then?
Well, here's the truth of the matter. There's nothing we can do. We know it's going to happen because money talks. Money talk. But what I suggest should happen is that they should. I would like to see them stay together in Italy, maybe at least 1 or 2 more seasons. Is not realistic from a career arc perspective. Osimhen needs to get to the Premier League. I don't know what you guys have talked about so far in terms of the appeal to Premier League, but that's the top league in the world. His physical, after he's starting to mature into that physical specimen that can now play in the Premier League and be a star there. So every year that he wastes outside of the Premier League is one earning power being removed from him. So you can't deny him that. And I'm pretty sure you guys are talking about his family issues, how they're trying to collect money from him. And the other thing too is that the best need to be with the best. Haaland, if you look at the trajectory of Haaland, it's kind of similar to Victor Osimhen in the way that Haaland started out in the Austrian league, tore it up in Champions League while he was there, went to Borussia Dortmund in Germany to develop some more.
Wow.
Tore it up there. And then where there's nowhere else to go but up. So you have to go to test yourself against the very best in the world and not waste away. So
I didn't even know he started in the Austrian league. Right.
So obviously started in Norway first before going to the Austrian league,
wow.
The same with Osimhen. You see that he started, although you can discount the Germany part, but he started in the Belgian league, kind of similar to the Austrian league in in a sense. Tore it up for that one season, then went to France for one season where he completely tore it up again, and COVID cut that short, and then transferred over to Italy where he's actually the thing I like about Osimhen is the development. I'm seeing two things. One, the gra is starting to reduce. You understand? The aimless running around. He's becoming more of a calculated movement player. His touch still needs to get better. It's getting better. But if you see today's goal, you know one thing is for sure. He's becoming a man. Strong. You see, like the two defenders where they had him inside and he just said, get away from me. And it was a thing of beauty to watch, man. It was a thing of beauty to watch. And it reminded me of this one goal that Yekini scored way back in the early 90s against Burkina Faso from a corner that I didn't even understand how he was able to keep that ball straight and pass the angle into the near side of the goal. I don't have anything else to say, man. I'm just on a high.
No, Osimhen is informed. You know, when a player is informed where almost anything they do, they score. That's where he's like this game.
Right.
He could have had a hat trick. There were two other goals. One hit the post.
I was going to say that too. He didn't even have his best game. He hit the post once, and that header should have gone in. And then there was another one, a left-footed shot that he blew over the bar when he was right in front of the goal. Yeah. And wanted to, but
But I'm saying, like, where do you think he should go? Like, if an EPL team, you think Man U?
I think Man U or Arsenal. Those are the two teams that are ready made for him right now.
No, he can't go to Arsenal because Arsenal won't pay.
remove sympathy. If
no,
Arsenal,
it's not sympathy. It's not sympathy. It's top dollar.
Well, yeah,
it's not all about money. It's not all about money. It's about trajectory of your career too. Right. That's important.
For Arsenal, it's about money, Dio.
But they're not asking me who should pay. They're asking me where we think he should go.
Okay.
So where we think he should go from a perspective of football, the two teams that I think, Man United, he's ready made to take them to a championship to contend for the title immediately. Once he comes in, they're a title contender. That's the final piece that they need.
But what happens to Rashford?
Rashford is not a striker now. Rashford plays on the wing.
Rashford plays the wings. Yeah, who's the striker now? Who's Man United striker now?
They don't really have an out and out. That's why Rashford is kind of sort of playing. It's Martial. Everyone knows.
Yeah, Martial's in and out.
Right. They have enough squad depth to play to his strengths. And Man United are direct, and that's what Victor Osimhen is. He's a direct player. So, Bruno Fernandes. One thing I like about I'm not a big fan of Bruno Fernandes, but one thing I do like about him is in the midfield. If there's space, he doesn't waste time on the ball. He looks up, that ball's coming to the person that's making that run. Usually it was Ronaldo, and now it's Marcus Rashford. If Osimhen is getting that kind of service, goalkeepers goalkeeper union will be making calls and to say why. Why? Don't bring this guy to the Premier League. I also think Arsenal, and I like Arsenal because I think that's the piece that they're missing is that spearhead and the way they play, because they play a ball possession style with Saka, and they have the pieces are there in the midfield in terms of Odegaard, Saka, maybe even Martinelli to feed. Just the way they play, man. He'll be scoring tap-ins like Haaland is scoring for Man City if he plays for Arsenal.
No, it'll be interesting to watch. I think also the EPL being what it is, Osimhen is very marketable because of that mask he has, which is interesting, right? Like his face got smashed in and he wears a mask and it just makes him stand out. You know what I mean? So I think it'd be interesting, man. He's having a hell of a season. I mean, unreal. And if he goes to the EPL and United gets him, it's going to be a problem. And this would be a good time to get him. Like he still has his pace. He plays with a very high intensity. Kid plays with a high intensity. So, man, Osimhen is something else, man. And he plays the same way when he plays for Nigeria. If you watch when he plays for Nigeria, he plays the exact same way. High intensity, always competing. He's very competitive. So, I mean, no, but you're right. That other kid, bro. I was watching the highlights today, and I was like, this guy's a savage. I mean, the kind of things this kid. Where's he from? He's from Georgia. Yeah.
I petitioned FIFA that they should give a special dispensation to make him Nigerian because Georgia is going nowhere. It's a shame that this young kid is not going to have an international career. It kind of reminds me of guys like Ryan Giggs, guys like that came from countries that then could
put together a team. Yeah.
The best they can do is nowadays, because I think they now have 32 teams or whatever number, the 24 teams in the Euros. Maybe they can somehow pull some kind of offset. But I don't know any other Georgian players that in the past. Georgia used to have good players like Kalatse and players like that, but they're not very good and sad. I watched them play in one of the qualifiers a couple of years ago or last year, and he's just isolated. The rest of the guys are just ordinary. But
what do you think about the EPL worship? Do you think it's ever going to stop?
Well, probably not, because one, the places where the English Premier League are really popular, they have that one thing that they have as a link, a connection. In India, England colonized India, so the Indians are naturally going to be gravitating towards the English Premier League anyway. Nigeria, same thing. United States, there's a link, the same similar shared language. So that automatically, before you start talking about the marketing and the money. But let's make no mistake about it. When you look at the money that is invested in the EPL and their TV deals, what they've signed with sponsorship, they dwarf. If you combine the other leagues, they don't even match up to what the EPL has. And money talks, and BS walks, right? So that's not going to change. I mean, if you take a country like Nigeria, our own country, for example, the EPL has come to the EPL worship has come to the detriment of our local league, where now people don't want to watch it because it's top quality, and with money means the best players are going to go there. So it's not like it's an EPL worship and it's not warranted. It is warranted. The very best. We just talked about Victor Osimhen. He has to go to England to go play because the best collection of players want to test themselves there. It's a rarity where you see a guy like Lionel Messi never come to the EPL. There's even talk that Chelsea's looking at Neymar to bring him to the EPL. And that's another team that I didn't want to mention. Maybe Chelsea, but I don't know if they have money to sign Victor. But it actually will not be terrible there, but I think it's a little bit of a mismatch because then everybody will be trying to blend. I think he needs to go to a team that's already established, and he's the final piece for that team. And but no matter where he goes, he's going to shine. But going back to the question at hand, for the foreseeable future, I don't see that changing. And you look at like the Spanish league, the president of the Spanish league, La Liga, his name is Tebas. I forget his first name. Javier Tebas. He behaves rather amateurish sometimes in some of his utterances. Look at the TV deal they signed with La Liga. It's skewed so that Real Madrid and Barcelona have their own TV contracts, while the rest of the league are struggling to, make up the money. While the English Premier League, the money is shared is the revenue sharing. Guess where they learned that from? They the model of the National Football League in the United States and said the National Football League is basically a country on its own when it comes to revenue. They earn more money than many countries in the world. And nothing stops the NFL. It doesn't matter whether it's controversy from racism, from violence, domestic violence by the players, arrests, or this brain injuries that they have with the CTE. None of that really slows down the pace of the NFL. They say, what is it that they're doing? Let's copy this model and things. And that's what they did. So, again, in conclusion, money talks, BS walks. I don't see, as long as the money is the way it is, it's always going to be skewed towards the English Premier League and the markets that they've gotten the foothold in. It's hard to usurp them from those markets. So,
yeah, man. No, it's a valid point, man. Yeah, we're hashing this out, and everything you said, we agree with 100%. Yeah, man, bro. We'd love to definitely have you earlier, man. You're you're a walking encyclopedia for the Serie A now. And
I see that.
Hey, Mike. Next time we see you, please better have a Victor Osimhen jersey or something.
Yeah. Where's the Napoli jersey?
See, I already have one. I didn't want to.
You gotta come correct. You gotta come correct.
Let me slow it. I didn't want it to be Napoli worship. I know we're talking about EPL today, so let me hold back and say,
you're on that train. You're on that train, man.
I know. I feel like I need to go catch up, man.
Oh man.
Nah, man. Listen, Mike.
Michael, what you said back to where it was 2 weeks ago, you brought up some stuff and you were like, we gotta watch this Osimhen guy. You know, the way he's going. He's gonna break some records.
Yeah, I truly believe
in Serie A.
Yeah, I truly believe.
Do you think he gets African Player of the Year this year?
Thank you. I wanted to actually bring that up. I think he has a chance, right? But I think that there's some things that work against him. Number one is that Nigeria didn't make it to the World Cup. Right now, I think the person who has the upper hand is Hakimi for Morocco. I think Hakimi for Morocco is probably the leading person just because of how Morocco did PSG where they are. But I'll tell you where the equalizer is going to come. It's in the Champions League. Because I think at this point, the Scudetto is Napoli's. I think everyone can admit that that race is already over with. He's going to probably win top scorer in the Scudetto, which is an achievement. He'll be the first African player to do that. But then the other part of it too is that he's going to score some. He already has 4 goals against Sao Tome and Principe. I don't want to. Okay, but the qualifiers are coming up. He's going to score some goals, so he'll show some national team performances over the year. But it's a Champions League that's going to determine. Right now, PSG having lost that home game to Bayern Munich, more than likely they're going to be knocked out in the second round. That's going to be a big ding on Hakimi. If Osimhen makes it at least, let's say they make it at least the quarterfinals, semifinals, and he stars, I think my vote will go to him at that point.
Yeah, no, it's a valid point. Oh, Chris, by the way, Mike has the Always Footy podcast on Spotify.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, man.
Let me. I'm going to put my information in the chat, Chris, so that way we can connect. I wanted to do that last week, but
for sure.
We went long and I forgot. Yeah. I'll put my phone number. Or you can type yours too, so we can connect outside of.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that.
Watch out for Chris, man. He likes money too much.
Love of money is the beginning of wisdom.
You get along with him then.
I just like to deal with people who create opportunities, man. That's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Chris is all right, man. He's all right. Nah, man. No, Mike. Next Friday we're going to be on again. Anyone?
Did you get it, Chris?
Yes, I got it.
Ping me back if you can, so that way we can connect.
Okay, got it. It's sending you mine right now.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be on again next Friday. Different topic. Guys, definitely. Where that go? That don't work.
Yeah.
Be like saying, "Madam, don't tell us say, oh, I think it would make you hang that phone up."
It's Friday night, man.
I know. But thanks to Dyer for coming on, man. That's our man. Chris and Dyer live in Orlando, Florida.
Okay.
Yes.
They're the kings of Orlando, man.
Mike, what city are you in? If I may ask.
I'm in San Jose, California.
Oh, you in San Jose? Oh, nice, man. Okay. I come out to my job is in Emeryville, the Bay Area.
Really? Oh, that's just down the road.
Yeah. I come out to Emeryville all the time, man.
Okay, well, next time you're here, we definitely need to connect.
Yeah, Mike, if you know any people with big hands,
on the podcast.
I know what you're talking about. This is a football podcast. I want to keep it all footy. That's not my purview. Let's
hey,
it's okay.
I got a wife and 2 beautiful kids, man. Try to focus, man. You know what I mean?
Man, I'm just putting my man.
I got.
Oh man,
guy. Mike, don't listen to Boma, man. Don't listen.
No, but if you go out to Cali, especially if you're there, make sure you check Mike out, man.
Yeah, for sure. San Jose, okay.
That Bay Area.
That's cool.
Definitely.
Well, guys, let me help out, man. I gotta talk to the ladies, and we'll be in touch. All right.
Next week.
Man. Take it easy.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, cheers.
Sports Dev.